Welcome to the Modernizing CORBA Applications through Artix series. In this video, we'll show how a .NET application calls a CORBA server. As we are calling from a .NET application, the architecture is slightly different than what we've seen in the pure web service video, directly preceding this one. In this example, the .NET application is communicating using SOAP over HTTP, with the advantage that your existing CORBA application requires no changes. It still communicates using the IIOP protocol. Therefore, we need something to bridge these different technologies. This bridging is done through the Artix router, which we'll now start looking at with its associated build.xml file. This XML file specifies a target for generating WSDL from the IDL, which is used to create routes from a web service endpoint to a CORBA location. More information on this is explained in the previous web services video. The routes themselves are defined in Spring. And to look at the configuration, we open the spring.xml file contained within the demo. And as you can see, we have our two CORBA endpoints, the image processing endpoint and the image sharing network endpoint, as well as their two equivalent endpoints on our Artix router. And when we combine these together, they make up the routes from the web service endpoints to the CORBA servant. Let's take a quick look at our .NET client with Visual Studio. Our .NET client is able to take the image processing WSDL generated by our Artix router, and we can import this WSDL into our Visual Studio project. We've already done that for this demo. However, if you wanted to do it for yourself, you can easily do it by right-clicking on your service reference and point at the image processing WSDL. Once it's imported, you can get your endpoints in your app config, which your client can now invoke. I'll exit the Visual Studio project and begin building the demo from the .NET level, so we can build our router and client together. Before we begin building, we'll have to set some environment variables. I'll paste in our Java home and our Artix Java home. Once those are set, we can now start the build with the provided build script. This generates WSDL for our Artix router, as well as building our .NET client. You'll see at the bottom of our .NET client that we've also added an assembly to the cache. This is a third-party library that we use to provide the video capturing features within the .NET client. And you'll need to be in an administrator shell for this to work successfully. We can now run our demo from here. The run script will start the Artix router and then our .NET client. Here's our router starting up and then the login for our .NET client. I'll log in with a username that registers with the server. You can now see the GUI interface of our demo image processing application. It has two panels, the left for the source image and the right for the destination image. Splitting the two panels is the center panel. There's a drop-down list of transformation operations provided by the server, a transform button which will transmit the original image to the server for processing, and an option to make the destination image the source image for further processing. There are two ways to load an image, from the computer or take a picture from the webcam. For this demo, we'll take a picture from our webcam that's pointed outside. I'll capture the image, and now that it's set, we can add a transformation to the image. Let's choose charcoal and hit the transform button, which will request the CORBA server to transform the image from what we captured on the webcam to a charcoal equivalent. We can now take the transformed image and move it to our source panel in order to add another transformation layer. And this time we'll choose flop. We can now share this image with other users, but first we'll have to start another client. In this case, I'll start up and log in to an Orbix client, so the image will be shared from a .NET application to a CORBA client application. Here you can see the Orbix client without anything in either panel. So we'll go back to our .NET client and share it to our Orbix client by clicking Share and selecting the Orbix client from the window. And now back to our Orbix client server, I'll accept the transfer and it'll pop up in the right panel. And now I could save it to the server. This demonstrates some of the power of Artix, in that it allows you to very easily connect a .NET application to an existing CORBA application, all without having to make any changes on the CORBA side. And in the next video, we'll show you how to expose your CORBA application to a REST client.